all about dependencies, Maven puzzlers. This is highly interactive, so you will need your phones. This is, I think, one of the few sessions that will tell you, pick up your phones, please. And this is actually the title, but I like to point out that we do talk about resolution of dependencies in different tools. But
right. Because we know there is always a choice for different build tools. We're not here to say just use one.
No.
Use the one that you like, that gives you the best results. But given the way that how prevalent the Maven format, the POM format is, it's a good idea that we know what's going on with that particular format.
With Maven. So this is me. I'm from Mexico. I live in Switzerland. I work for Jconf. I'm a Java champion. I participate in a bunch of foundations and organizations, and I love open source.
And I'm Almiray. I'm also from Mexico. As a matter of fact, you can see both of us in that particular picture. Also Java champion. We love to work on open source, and that's one of the reasons why we're here. We like to share ideas, knowledge, and content.
Yes, so exactly as Sandra said, we are software developers. And that's actually our world. For the people that already know us, they know that we work a lot in software. And this is actually our passion. We do this in our free time. That's what keeps us moving. And the most important part for me is sharing knowledge. One of the things that drives me personally is that we're humans writing for humans, because our first consumer is not a machine. We spend more time reading other people's code than writing our own code. So we write code for humans too. And the whole purpose of writing software should always be improving human life. And we're also worried about how, because we do this a lot, we want it to be interesting, fulfilling for both of us. So the things that increase our happiness is having tools that are predictable, automatic, reliable, and follow conventions. So that's exactly where we're going to talk about here, our tools. Why Maven puzzlers? Because this is the JRebel developer survey of this year, and still Maven, it's 68%.
So that's 68% of usage as a build tool, as building things, not just consuming. Gradle can also consume the POM file for dependencies, but as you see the percentages, Maven continues to be the dominant player.
And according to IntelliJ IDEA ecosystem of the developer ecosystem report of 2022, it's also the same story. 72% of developers or projects out there is still using Maven. So Maven, it is quite relevant for you and for our life. So Maven puzzlers. And during the presentation, you will see the QR code. So we will show you a lot of resources. Everything is going to be published, so don't worry. Everything is going to be there. And so let's start. Let's start about jars.
Yeah, so jars, but not necessarily those jars.
Well, it's dependencies, but really, when we are using dependencies, they are in different types of dependencies, different sizes, and they may appear several times during our projects. And that's actually the problem. Sometimes when we are downloading dependencies, or we think that we know what dependency, what version of a dependency we're using, turns out that maybe that's not the case.
You might have heard the term dependency class path hell, or so. You might even have suffered it maybe at some point in time. It is very common.
Yes, it is actually very common. So it's so common that when we actually start a new project, the first thing that we usually do, or we should usually do, is build the project.
Yeah, of course.
So how do you build the project as soon as you check out?
Yeah, you do a fresh checkout of the project. It's Maven-based. What command do you invoke in order to build it?
Install.
Maven clean install, right?
Some people here will go in a rant talking about why this is a bad idea, and he will have his chance. I can only tell you that using Maven Verify may be a better solution. It doesn't work all the time, and you will see he will tell you what are the exceptions to that one. And the reason why Maven Verify may be a better idea
is because of this. This is known as the Maven lifecycle, and everybody should be familiar with the lifecycle. When you invoke a command in Maven, you have two choices. Either invoke one of these phases, compile, test, clean, cite, install, verify, or invoke a plugin goal where you can say the full plugin gap coordinates plus the goal, or just the short ID for certain set of plugins. So what happens when you invoke a lifecycle phase, the phases run in a sequence, and this is a default sequence. And you can see there are plenty of sub-phases, if you will. These are the most important ones, the ones that most people are aware of. And when you look at where is verify is right there, the next one is install. So every time that you do install, you actually invoke in verify implicitly. And install, the extra step that this one does is copy files, the jar files, into your local repository. If you only need to build and test, why do you need those artifacts there? There's no point. So verify will do most of the times what you need. There are, though, a couple of plugins like the WAR plugin or the ER plugin, not the WAR, ER. Is someone still building enterprise archives, EGBs? No? Good, perfect. But if you did, then you have to use clean because there is a bug in how they handle resources. So long story short, I'll keep this rant small. Prefer the use of Maven Verify instead of Maven Clean Install.
Most of the time, this will be enough without copying files that you don't need into your local repository. So again, why are we discussing this particular topic? Because sometimes we have the same dependency happening, or the same version of dependency at different levels on our dependency graph. And that is what the puzzles are all about. So let's go to the puzzles.
So bring in your phones, please.
Yes, and let me see, where is
There we go.
Yeah. So these are the instructions. You go into this. So every single time that we move into the different slides, there will be a question, and you can choose different answers. So let's try it.
And the code will be always on the top in case that you miss it. Just go to mentimeter.com and enter that code. Or so, just go back to the QR code,
yes.
make it easier, yeah.
Yes.
Instructions.
No, this. Oh yeah, probably it's instructions. Yes, we're in the instructions. So now you should be seeing this particular question. It should happening automatically. So for example, these are the test questions. Yeah. How do you install Maven? Manually? Do you use Homebrew? Do you use SDK Man?
Or any other package manager?
Okay.
All right, 2 and 2. Okay. Manually is winning. Interesting. Well, there's nothing bad with that, but I will, yes, SDK Man. Thank you, Justin.
This is not anonymous anymore.
There's nothing wrong with using manual steps to install Maven. It's just the fact that if you happen to use a package manager, you can have better control of moving up or downwards on a particular version.
SDK Man will allow you to have different versions in a specific terminal. So that's super cool. I totally recommend you to have a look at SDK Man. So what version of Maven do you use?
The current version, the latest version right now is 3.8.6. 3.8.4 and 3.8.3 is still popular, I believe. If you happen to be using 3.8.5, please don't. That has an issue with handling resources with HTTPS URLs, and we know that security is important, so avoid 3.8.5. Go 3.8.6 or 3.8.4 if for whatever reason you can do 3.6.
Or 3.8.6, yes.
Okay, and if you're using an older version, I highly encourage you to upgrade as soon as you can, because there have been security vulnerabilities reported in all the versions of Maven that have been patched in the latest 3.8.6.
Yes. And Maven 4 is just around the corner.
All right. So, have you heard about the Maven wrapper, and do you use the Maven wrapper? Let's see, this question will likely go
Yes.
as again you, Justin, I guess.
Well, you know, we are inspired by other tools. So the Maven wrapper, it is coming, and it's already there. We can use it.
So the Maven wrapper is inspired by Gradle. Gradle has the thing also known as the Gradle wrapper. What it does is helps you provision a specific version of Maven on the running environment where you are. So if Maven is not the right version for building your project in such machine, you can use a wrapper to download that version and ensure that it works with that one. The wrapper started as an external project to Maven. It was donated to the Maven project 2 years ago, and is now part of the official set of projects maintained by the Maven committers. And the Maven wrapper will become much more important once we get Maven 4 out the door. So if you are not using the Maven wrapper today, I highly encourage you to have a look at it, because in the coming years, everybody should be using the Maven wrapper.
Yes. And the version actually is important. We're not going to go deep into the why the super POM and the changes that has happened in that particular direction, but it does matter. So if you are using something specific or relying on some characteristics specific of the version, it is better that you use the wrapper, or the people that are checking out your projects are using the wrapper.
And finally, do you use the Maven daemon? Do you know what the Maven daemon is? Maven daemon is yet another feature that's inspired by Gradle. What it does is, when you invoke Maven for the first time, it will bootstrap the VM and run the Maven build, and that VM will move into the background. So the next time you invoke a Maven command, the Maven client is lighter and talks to that VM, which is already hot, is warm, right? So your builds should be faster and faster and faster.
You don't pay the startup time every single time that you invoke any command.
So if someone in your team or yourself have seen that your builds take longer than it should be, using the Maven daemon will reduce at least 20%, if not more. And of course, changing the POM file in certain ways, using profiles and other things, other features that Maven offers will help you reduce those times.
Okay, so those were the warm-up questions. Now we're going to test your knowledge, or you should test your own knowledge in Maven, and how do we resolve dependencies. So when we are, all the examples are going to be in a Git repository. You will get the URL, the QR code for that repository. And how we are going to verify things is using Maven dependency tree, that command.
So when we say, we will ask a couple of questions on which version of such dependency will be resolved. That is, if we were to invoke that command, Maven dependency tree, that will be uploaded. By the way, this is a plugin goal. This is the short plugin ID, and this is the goal of the plugin that we want to run. So this is the other way that we can invoke Maven commands, either a lifecycle phase like verify, compile, test, and the others, or a plugin goal.
Okay, so if we have this particular POM, notice that in this particular POM, I have in the block of dependencies declare Wava version 27.0, and in the same level, like right below it, Wava 28.
So we're not going to dunk on Guava just because everybody hates Guava and it's always there. We just pick it because it's a common, but this is not a Guava-specific problem. This happens for any kind of dependency where you have the same group ID, artifact ID, but different versions. So these are two direct dependencies explicitly defined in the POM file.
So remember, in the dependency block, I have Wava 27 and Wava 28.
Right.
What version will be selected?
You have a few choices. It will be version 27, will be version 28, or you might get a build error. So what's going to be?
Yes, choose. God. And these are the tricky, simple questions. We actually were presenting this in Milano, fairly recent, different examples, obviously. But we got one of the Maven maintainers with this particular question.
We got him with this one. Yes.
With the first one, he was like, "Oh my God, this."
And I can tell we got 6 of you, because the correct answer is 28.
Yes.
But you might be thinking the reason why it's 28 is because 28 is bigger than 27, right? No, that's not the case.
No.
So why is 28 winning? First, why is this not an error?
Yes,
that should be an error.
I'm declaring twice the same dependency. Like, if that is not confusing.
Well, let me tell you, if you evaluate this POM file, Maven will tell you there is a warning. There's 2 dependencies with different versions, but it will let you continue. Even all the IDEs, Eclipse doesn't say anything. VS Code doesn't say anything. NetBeans will have a link in the gutter saying, oh, look, these 2 versions, looks fishy. And IntelliJ will also mark it in light yellow, those 2 dependencies, like have another look because maybe something was wrong. But it's not an error, it's a warning.
For the ones that thought that it was semantic versioning, that we picked the newest one, I have not so good news for you. But we will go deeper into that particular topic later on.
Right.
As we said, I declare twice the same dependency and nothing happened. Why nothing happened? It's only a warning. So how do we actually make that an error?
Yeah,
how we can tell our developers, don't do that, please.
Yeah.
This is confusing.
Right. How can we instruct Maven to know about certain rules that we developers believe are kind of like obvious? Oh, yes, dependencies should be resolved using semantic versioning. But Maven has no clue about semantic versioning. The way that Maven dependency resolution got started is years before semantic versioning was specified, defined. Right, exactly. So Maven has no clue. But we can tell Maven about those rules by using the Maven Enforcer plugin. If you have not used Enforcer before, please do so. At the very least, if the only thing that you learn from this session is use the Maven Enforcer, and I guarantee you, the moment that you apply Enforcer, your build is going to break. And that's what you want. Because your builds right now have issues, but we don't know what those are.
They are hidden.
They're hidden, exactly. So Enforcer will bubble them up to the surface, and that's what we want.
And there is a lot of built-in rules that you can apply that are sensible enough, and you can actually choose them. So how do we fix duplicated dependencies? Because that is confusing. There is no way that that's not confusing.
So basically, we apply the Enforcer plugin, and you may configure an execution ID or not. What is important is configure this particular rule. Ban duplicate POM dependency versions. So whenever you encounter a POM like the one we saw, instead of having a warning, now you have an error and the build will fail much, much faster.
So if we have an Enforcer applied to our project, the Enforcer plugin applied to our project, this is going to be the problem. Yeah. Now we're going to stop our developers on their tracks and tell them, nope, that's not a great idea. Please don't be confusing.
Okay, so we go into the next question.
Perfect. Let me go on that. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, now we have a different POM.
Go back to that one.
There it is.
So we have, again, Guava as a direct dependency. And we have yet another dependency, truth, which so happens to have Guava as a transitive dependency. So from the point of view of this POM, we have 1 hop to go into Guava version 28, and 2 hops to get into whatever version of Guava is provided by this, right? So now we have direct and transitive Guava here.
And transitive, the version of this transitive.
The version is 30.1.1-Android.
Android. Right. So now in your options, you had 28 or Android or build error, something.
I think those are the only 3 options that we have.
Okay.
Okay.
Consistency there. I like it.
Yes, okay, good. Good. Yeah, no one is speaking version 30 because it's not the biggest in semantic version, so that's pretty good. Yes, so the reason why this happens, everybody got the right version, is because this is an explicit version, and it's closer to your consuming POM than the transitive one. So in terms of how Maven resolves the graph, dependencies that are closer to where I'm consuming them will always win over whoever is further down the graph.
Or in the previous example, why it was 28. The reason why it was 28 because it was the second one to be listed.
That was the last one to be evaluated. So when we had direct dependencies, the order of definition matters and the last one wins.
Yeah,
but
direct dependencies, the last one wins.
Just remember that fact.
But if you're using enforcer, then you should only have one. And that's the whole point.
Yes, so there are 2 things that we could do with this particular example, because in the graph we have version 28 and version 31.1 Android. Is there a way that we can simply say, oh, no matter what, just look at 28 or look at the other?
So now we're going to go with semantic versioning. As we already hinted, semantic versioning was defined after Maven was born. So actually, we were confused. We actually, at the beginning, when we were creating this, we thought that the latest version was going to win, and that's not the case. Actually, in the version part, you can put whatever you want. Whatever you want. It doesn't matter to Maven.
Yeah, we asked this question to Robert, which was the PMC chair of Maven for quite some time. And this was back in March 2020. And he said, look, when Maven resolves dependencies, Maven doesn't care about the version number. It just cares about the position of the thing in the graph. And whichever is closer is going to be chosen. So if the one that is closest happens to be the lowest version number, that is the one that is going to be picked. And that might change in version 4, might change in version 5, we'll see. But that's the current state. So can we instruct Maven to follow semantic versioning? Yes, we can. Here's our friend again, the Enforcer plugin. And the first thing that we can say is dependency convergence. That means if you have 2 dependencies, group ID, artifact ID, same, but different versions, that will be a problem, which is what we currently have right now, version 28 and version 30. Dependency convergence will fail your build and say, look, there might be a potential problem here. Make sure that you select only one of those dependencies. So we actually see our build is broken not just because of Guava, but there is another problem here. The checker qual and error-prone versions are different. All their transitive dependencies.
So we're actually making this more evident for the developer.
The other thing that we can say is another rule called require upper bounds. This is the one that activates semantic versioning in Maven. So again, we'll have version 28 and version 30. When we run Enforcer once again, it will tell us that what was it, version, in this case, this was tested with version 27 and 30 under, right? So this is the one that we currently have explicitly, and this is the one that should be coming from the transitive one, which is bigger. So you either pick this one, force it, or force that one, depending on what you want to do. But at least the rule tells you, look, you have lower and upper. Choose one.
Yes. So again, Enforcer is your friend. Let's go back to the quiz.
All right.
There you go.
So this is question number 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, go back.
There.
Okay,
now,
so we introduced our friend the dependency management block. You have seen this before, I suppose.
Yeah, dependency management.
All right, so we have Guava 27 inside the dependency management block, and again, Guava 30, blah, 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 coming as a transitive.
So what version of Guava will be selected?
We have version 30 or version 27 or a build error. as an
Remember,
option.
the only thing that we did is added it into the dependency management part. So what does actually having that definition on the dependency management block means?
Well, so this thing works like if it were a lookup table. Anywhere in the graph, whenever we encounter this group ID and artifact ID, this will be selected version. If there's no specified version, then this will be, or if there's a transitive dependency, then we also going to set this one. So that's why, again, version 27 is the one that is chosen, is not version 30, because no semantic versioning.
No semantic. So dependency management, it will be like a catalog. If there is encounter the same group ID and the artifact, but no version defined, it's going to be using that one. If you are declaring it specifically, then that wins.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Next one.
The next one is we have a dependency management block, once again, version 27, explicit dependency, version 28, and a transitive dependency, version 30. So what's going to be? It's going to be version 27, 28, 30, or a build error. Which looks like all of you, just someone fall for build error on the first one. No one has selected build error so far in the other ones.
No.
Okay, that's pretty good. Version 28 currently winning. Version 27 coming here, all right. Osmo there. Okay, so, we have a split. Well, here comes the decisive factor. Version 28 is going to win. Even though this will apparently set the version here, because we have one explicit setting here, this wins. If this was not defined here, it was only group ID, artifact ID, then version 27 will win. But because this is explicit, this is closer, this one wins.
Okay.
And we can tell now.
So these are the dependency graph for, and what he has been saying, like truth version 113 has Guava version 30.
And now we're going to introduce another dependency, juice, that also has Guava as a transitive one,
but see
but
the
has
level.
a different version, all right? And both of them, the important bit is that Guava is one step away, is what's one hop. If we were two different hops, then that would be a different matter. But right now, they are at the same distance from the consumer.
Okay.
All right. So we put two of those. We put juice and Guava and truth. Both of them with one hop to Guava. This 31 GRE and 31.1 Android. Who's going to win? Is it going to be the GRE? Is it going to be the Android? Or is it going to be a build order?
Oh. So please vote. Now you should be able to vote.
So looks like this right now is winning. The version coming from truth. We got someone, a adventurous one, selecting this. And a build error. Well, let me tell you that this is not a build error. It actually works. And whoever selected 31 GRE is correct. It's not that one. I know when we saw this early, it's like if it's a direct transitive, it's a direct dependency, the last one wins, right? But these are transitives. And in the case of that transitive, the first one that is found that is closest wins. Again, it doesn't matter what version it has, it's the one that is closest. Which one is closest? The one that juice delivers.
So keep this in mind.
So that's why this one, 31 GRE is the one that wins.
Keep this in mind. Direct dependencies, one rule. Transit dependencies,
Another rule.
different rule.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. Direct dependencies, the last one, like the last in the position of the file wins. Transient dependencies, the first one that is found in the file wins.
Okay. So last one. We kind of have the same example.
Yes.
But in this time, we are adding our friend, the dependency management block. So we'll have three potential versions, version 28, 31 GRE, no, this is 31.1 Android, and 31 GRE. Notice that now we have inverted. Truth first, use second. Will that make any difference? Let's see.
And we have been asked, is this just you playing with different permutations, or have you seen this happen?
Is this just an academic
exercise?
Test? Yes.
No.
No, actually, this happens in real life, because this is how we usually go into a Stack Overflow and try to fix something. Well, it's so good that 4 of you decided that version 28 is going to win, because remember, if this is found somewhere in the transitive graph, the given version will be 28. So those guavas here are transitives, so we get version 28. Pretty good. Okay, so far we are dealing with just one POM file. Let's up the ante a little bit and add a parent POM file.
So parent POMs.
Here we have a parent on one side, and we have the child on the other side.
Okay.
The parent defines a direct dependency, version 28. And the child, well, inherits from the parent and defines truth, which we know brings guava as a transitive dependency. So, which version is going to win? Is it going to be 28 or version 30? '28 so far. Good. And I'm lacking what I'm seeing. No one is choosing version below. This is how Maven resolves the things. So it reads your POM file right here, the child, and it looks like there is a parent. So goes and finds a definition and reads the parent POM to see what it needs. And if this thing happens to have another parent, then it goes through the chain until it reaches what is known as the super POM, which no one can touch. And the super POM is the one that defines the basic plugins that you can use and the bindings for the compiler and clean resources and jars, all that. So once it has reached the end of the hierarchy, it grabs those definitions and moves back into, going back in reverse until it reaches the child. So grab what is in the super POM, looks at what is in the parent and says, oh, you have a dependency. So stuff is that into the effective POM. And then goes now into the child. And what does it see in the child? Well, you have a transitive dependency. You have truth. The stuff is there. So we already know what happens when we have a direct dependency and something in a transitive. The direct one wins, right? That's why version 28 wins. When we look at the resolve effective POM, it is as this and that were in one place, and that's why this one wins. Okay, next one. We have our friend the dependency management block with version 26. We have explicit dependency on version 28 in the parent.
In the parent.
And the child has a transitive dependency. So our choices, 26, 28, 30, or bill error. Who's going to win?
Okay, again. Dependency management on the parent, dependency, direct dependency on the parent, direct dependency on the child. So what's going to happen?
Version 28 GRE or 26. Are we going to go for a split here again? All right. Well, let me tell you that version 28 is the one that wins. Once again, because this one is direct. If this did not exist, then 26 will override whatever version is coming here. But because, again, we're like, when we resolve everything, this is a direct dependency as if it were defined here. We know already what happens in that case. The direct one wins, version 28 wins. Next one. Our friend, the dependency management here, but yeah, version 26, and here, isn't it the same?
Nope.
No. And we have a transitive dependency here. So our choices, version 26, version 30, or
so dependency management on the parent, direct dependency on the child. There, in the dependency management part, we're saying WABA 26. And on the direct dependencies, we're saying only truth 113. So we're actually don't specifying in the child any version of WABA.
Okay, so let's see the answers. Version 26 is winning, and that's actually the correct answer, because guava over there is transitive. We override versions coming from transitives here. This is because we're inheriting from the parent. this block was to be defined here. We already have seen that case before. This version wins. Right. The last one. I think this is the last one with the parents.
Yes.
So we have a dependency management block in the parent, and we have a dependency management block on the child.
What happens now?
And a transitive here. So our choices, 26 from the parent, 28 from the child, or 30. Who's going to win? And our choices, let's see how it's going. So 26 on the parent, 28 here, and okay, 26. Yes, but sadly, no. The correct answer is 28. Because when Maven evaluates the parent hierarchy in order, it will find the dependency management block from the parent first, put in the effective POM, and then looks at the child and says, oh, you also have a dependency management block. And that is the last one that is defined. So that overrides version 26, you get 28. So again, the order matters.
The effective POM. Here, the key part that I want to remark is that there is an effective POM. We are kind of appending and recreating something at the child level. So again, still the rules apply, but you have to construct the effective POM in your mind.
All right. Now we're going to up the ante once again. We're going to leave the parents outside, and we're going to use BOM files. Who knows what a BOM file is? BOM stands for Bill of Materials. The idea of a BOM file is set a collection of dependencies that go together. There are like two types of BOM files that you can find out there. There is no specific vocabulary for this, no nomenclature for it. I would like to call it, one is the library BOM, and the other is the stack BOM.
Who uses a Spring here?
Spring Boot, Quarkus, Macronaut, Helidon, Jackson, JUnit.
You are consumers
of a BOM file. So a BOM file is like any other POM that contains a dependency management block and a list of dependency definitions. If this BOM file contains everything that is only for that particular project, let's say JUnit or Jackson, and all dependencies are just JUnit or just Jackson, this is a library BOM POM. And if this BOM POM defines more dependencies besides what is specific to that project, say we're talking about Spring Boot. Spring Boot has a Spring started and a Spring data and blah, 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 whatever the Spring, but also includes Jackson and JC drivers and JUnit and whatnot. That is a stack BOM POM, okay? Regardless of if it's a library or a stack, the same rules apply. So we're going to see the first one. This is our first BOM file. You have basic gap coordinates, and the most important bit about a BOM POM is the dependency management block. That's it.
Yeah.
And here we have two transitive dependencies for Guava, just like we saw earlier, and consuming the BOM. So regardless of if it's a stack or a lib, then you will import it in this way. You have to use a scope import and set the type POM file. Why? Because the packaging of a BOM is also POM. If you don't do this, Maven will think you have a jar file that needs to be downloaded, and it's not going to be found. You actually just need to download the metadata, the POM file. So these two things should be there. Once we have this import, it is as if this block was defined here.
As if.
Like grabbing that and putting it there.
But think it's like with a pencil. So it's a suggestion. It's not the law.
Okay, so which version is going to win? It's going to be 28, 31 GRE, or 3011 Android? Go to the answers. Version 28 continues to win, and I'm happy to say that, yes, that is the correct version. We saw this case before. Given that this block is kind of like if it were here, that version overrides whatever is coming from the transitives.
Perfect.
Good. Next one.
Wait a second.
So we have a BOM file with a dependency management block and a direct dependency on Guava 28. The child consumes the BOM, and in this case, we just set one dependency here with transitive Guava. Right. So our choice is 26, 28, or 30. Who's going to win?
26, 28, 26 is popular. It's getting
but
popular.
is it the correct answer? Well, let me tell you that, oh, we got a split. Interesting. The version that's going to win is 26.
Why?
Anyone wonder why? I guess we know it's because it's not a semantic versioning. And we know that a direct dependency should win over the transitive one, right? But when we're working with a BOM,
exactly. You forget about this
This
part.
is not important.
This is not important.
It doesn't exist when we're importing a BOM file.
Only the dependency management block.
Right.
So, BOMs, only dependency management.
It doesn't matter what other XML elements you find in the BOM, the dependency management block is the important one. Everything else is just forgotten from the child point of view. That's why version 26 wins.
That's why we are taking this particular topic completely different, because it looks like a parent, but it's not. This is a BOM. So in a parent, it actually matters the direct dependencies, but in a BOM, doesn't. So keep that also.
So we have two more questions to go, and we're done.
Yes.
So go back. We have a BOM file here with version 28. We import that BOM. We also define a version here in the dependency management block, and we got transitive Guava. So our choices, 28 coming from the BOM, 26 coming from our dependency management block, or version 30. So what do we have? 28, 26, or 30? And yep, version 36 is 26 is going to win, because this thing is as if it were here, right?
But with a pencil.
Yes. And it doesn't matter if well, why does version 26 wins? Because it's the latest? No. I also thought it was because it's latest, and that's exactly what I was going to say. If you put this on top, version 26 is still going to be chosen. So why is this case? The reason is, in terms of the implementation, when we have a dependency management block like this is the suggested version. But suggested does not override explicit. So it's not because it's closest, it's because it is explicit. Because if I put this there on top, that one still will win because it's explicit.
So that's why I said pencil, and what is here is still pen.
All right, so last one. We got version 26 in the dependency management block. We imported. We have explicit dependency 28 here, and we have version 30 as a transitive. So who's going to win? It's going to be the one from the dependency management block in the BOM. Is it going to be the direct one, 28, or is it going to be 30? And so far, most of you have chosen version 28. And I'm happy to say that that is the correct answer, because one is explicit, and second is a direct dependency. So these ones win. There's one case, though. If you were to go back here and remove this explicit version here, then this one will win, right? So again, is this all these kind of like academic questions?
No.
Kind of. Because when we see these answers in a Stack Overflow and just copy and paste, if we know that if we remove that, then the answer will be different. And if we put this as explicit dependency in a BOM file, then it makes no sense, right? So based on the context and when we're looking at how to fix our own dependency problems in the graph, it makes sense to figure out, well, I'm going to put it there, I'm going to use that one, I'm going to use the other one. And within the Maven sphere of using a build tool, this makes a lot of sense. Well, when we publish the BOM file and someone else consume it, be it SVT and Gradle, those build tools have no clue about the dependency management block and the other fixes that we have applied. So for them, they also have to use their own specific build requirements in order to fix their dependencies. And then comes the other problem. Gradle will publish BOM files with all the dependencies explicitly defined. It never uses dependency management block. It never uses version properties for versions that we could override in someone consumer. So the way that they publish point file affect us as Maven builders, because they may be pushing a dependency that we don't need. We may use dependency management or exclusions or some of the means that are specific to Maven in order to fix our dependency graphs. So that's what is important to know, how we build these point files, but also how we consume them.
So this is the QR code for the repository where all these examples are. You can find it there. There are two branches. The main one, the questions and the answers. The question has all the answers, and the answers has the answers, obviously. And let's go back, finally.
Okay.
So I think at least you have now 3 or 4 considerations. So direct dependencies, transient dependencies, the position of the file, the difference between a parent POM and a BOM, and keep those in mind when deciding. You see that sometimes it is the position of the file, sometimes it's the first time that you are defined. So it is important that you keep this somehow not very consistent rules. And I hope this brings a little bit peace of mind. At least you will know what is happening or the bad things are happening. If you're not using semantic versioning in your projects, I totally encourage you to use semantic versioning.
And for sure, again, if the only thing that you guys learn from this session is please use the Enforcer plugin. There are many things that you can set. It's not just some of the rules that we saw, like the ban duplicate dependency versions that turn a warning into an error, but also the require upper bound depths and dependency conversion. There's another rule coming from another set of additional dependencies called Maven extra rules, which is one of my favorites, called enforce bytecode version. So if you're building a project that must go from version 8 to 11, but not higher for whatever reason, not just your code, but also your dependencies, then you can configure that rule and say, every dependency that I have on my graph must be within version 8 and version 11. The moment that I bring something that is 17 or greater, your build should fail. Because if you don't, you're going to push a bytecode version 17 or greater to your consumers. And then your consumers will have to fix that problem.
So be nice with the ones that are coming behind us. If you like this session, there is more material also from Ruiz, and they both did this kind of workshop in the past.
So Ruiz, another fellow Java champion, he has presented this with Robert 3 or 4 years ago. And the lessons that they show, they are still relevant. There are other issues in the dependency hell and the class path hell in Maven. We just touched on a few. There are other things that may happen, and they also propose answers and patterns that you can use in order to fix the problems if you encounter those things.
So that's it for us. Please give us feedback. Actually, we are thinking about doing a version for modules, optional dependencies, and other things that Maven help us with. So if you have any topic, any questions, please let us know. Feedback, we're always happy to receive them. We have, as promised, Swiss chocolate.
Yeah, we have Swiss chocolate for you.
So thank you very much.
And stickers.
And stickers.